Oh, another question. Who should I be talking to find out? Who should I contact? I've tried to get a hold of Klaus Prilla, but
Yes. Can I respond to you, please?
sure.
Yes. In next, most probably 30 days, all the ones who have bought the units will be contacted to structure the delivery, the premises, and the rest of it.
Wonderful.
Because
Thank
now we had to go through some testing of the units in everything else, and more or less the systems are going into production sometime this month. And by the time it's delivered to us, assembled, it'll be sometime early December, and then we ship into different destination. That by first week of January, most of destination units can start operating. Especially in the United States and what I call Canada, we have no problem by the installation because we have one of our key people within US, and we can get things done very quickly. But operationally, and the starting of the teaching of the doctors, all this starts in the back end of November, December, because the teaching of the doctors who you have to appoint in a way is done primarily by me and maybe a couple of Chinese doctors who have operated with us, collaborated with us in China. And then we'll see how the process will take shape. But primarily, the last touches of the what we call development should be completed in the next 2 weeks, and the production, mass production starts, because we have to, if we make changing one thing, we have to change everything else with it. So the production with the manufacturers is complete. Structurally, we have no problem to produce. Our most important part is what we call the units internally. There's been a lot of innovation and innovations even in past 2 weeks on them, and it makes it much easier to operate. It makes it much easier to manage the next step, which is for us individuality of systems.
Yeah, on my end here, I don't worry about that. I'll let you worry about that. My worry is about where to put it in January or December when it's snowing outside in Michigan.
We have to work with what I call our team in locating or whatever. If you don't have the premises, how we can maybe bring it into operation with another group. Like in Canada, there are 2 groups coming together, making total assembly of 6 units.
Okay.
In Arizona, we have 12 units. In Austria, we have 3 units. The same goes with what we call with Iran. We are looking around about 12 to 20 units initially to deliver. So the team will come in to operate, and there are a lot of other things happening in the background that we have to wait to complete. And then,
yeah, so I shouldn't build a little building of my own here. I should.
The thing is, the best way is most probably we have 1 unit in New York or up in northeast of United States. They have one with you there. Then we have to look in overall structure, how we'll go under what we call coverage of Arizona, because John is responsible for the whole operation in the US, to see if and how we put it together. Operationally, there should be minimum 3 units that is viable to work. And then we see the way we see now, where with the response from the what they call knowledge seekers around the world with a new offer of what you call Keshe Foundation supporting the Keshe Foundation manufacturing Austria for the units. Are we getting a lot of people responding by allocating funds to a country so much of? And by Thursday, the foundation will release a new page where we allow people to say where they are paying to which country or for what unit. That allows us to be able to, in a way, rapidly enhance the systems to 3 or 4 per area or per country. All this is in the process of getting that. Our first problem was getting over the corona and getting systems out of China, then finding out the parameters of it. And in a way, the rest will go automatically. There are other things happening in the background. We most probably, hopefully, be able to fulfill one city, one unit for the first 100 in the first year of the Keshe Foundation operation 2021. We've been approached by organizations who can see that can be done, but it's not just the units, it's building the centers, training the doctors and the rest of it.
So my question is, should I still keep looking for a suitable place?
Yes, you keep on looking and we try to see how it can be done and how we can support to raise your system to 3 system.
Okay, because I had looked around and I had found some places, but then I had to sign a lease and all this kind of stuff, and I thought that was premature.
The position we see it within single units bought by individuals like you is to see how we can support it to increase the number to 3 as a center to be viable.
Yeah. So
and
yeah.
this is one of the things that we looked at.
Yeah. Our town has a whole area in the center of it where they had raised a ton of industrial and polluting kinds of industries and moved them out. And they are looking for people to do something constructive in those locations. But it is beyond my financial ability to do anything like that. And also I need to have a serious kind of proposal for the city to do that.
We leave it to us for the next few weeks, so or sometime in November, where we can see how we can come in and operate.
Okay.
I've discussed your case with Klaus.
Okay.
And we are aware of your position. We have one in what do you call it, northeast of the United States, one single unit there. And is how we can operate this, bring this to operation. With Canada, with 6 units, we are comfortable. We can somehow find a way to do it when we are ready. At the moment is with Alex, and he's trying to get things sorted. But once we get involved, we move very fast.
Yeah, so I should be finding a doctor to start with the training for November?
Yeah, for December.
December.
Yes, we will look to train in the first 2 weeks of December. And then hopefully by then the units will be delivered. The biggest problem at the moment for most of our work is how to, in a way, even get people to come to these centers. We have people from Mexico who want to come to the state. We have people from South America who want to come to the state. The problem is not lack of patients. The problem is how many can we accommodate? Expectation is too high.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we are looking at, how to support different centers, because we see things in the background, or we have to go for one city, one unit, and see how the foundation will bring it into more more or less 3 units in a rapid way. But we are working, we're talking to different groups and see how it goes. We don't divulge anymore how we operate, what we do anymore. Because we've seen it, how some of the people, even in this chat room sitting, in a way, their reality sits somewhere else, or people who listen to this afterwards. So we keep it very, very quiet, and we have seen it, how it works. And we'll see how things will develop.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. We support you. Just leave it with class, and we'll see how we do it. Your position is well under our consideration, and I think we'll cover you through Arizona in the long run as a center.
What does that mean?
Arizona, US, Arizona base is the base of the Keshe Foundation for US. And in the long run, in the next few months, even Keshe Foundation global operation will move to Arizona. We're moving out of LA in the long run. And then Arizona becomes the center of operation for us. And the whole of the United States operation will run through Arizona.
Okay, but that means I might still have a center here in Michigan.
Yes, you will have a center in Michigan,
okay.
Without a doubt. It's just that we understand you wanted to do the best for your nation or your city. Yes. Now it comes to us how we can accommodate it and how we can, bring investment in to be able to operate. Single units are very hard to run. So we have to look at how the foundation will support the Keshe Foundation Austria to be able to finance this.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry, just give us time. We start, because even this week we have improvement, development, testing and new things. And then the final design will go through production. It takes us 30 days to produce all the materials. So in November it will be done. And something like 10 units a week will leave China. This is the factory set up to meet this demand.
Wonderful.
For January. So we meet our demands, there is no
problem. Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
If Arizona is going to be focused on enhancement, maybe it's not, but will there also be lift in motion and the space technologies also being pursued there?
Our primary consideration with Arizona was with the governor's office on this. It was based on developing the space. And I chose Arizona because we are near the desert and we can do control flights. And this was discussed with, with people of the state of California, Arizona, with the governor's office in that kind of way. Then we added the enhancement unit section. Primarily we see Arizona as a center for flight tests for Keshe Foundation due to the the emptiness of the desert nearby. And we tried, one of my points with the governor's office who are looking for premises for us was to be on the edge that we fly into desert testing.
So I guess my question is if you want to go in that direction away, you have the issue with enhancement of the body taken care of and the feeding systems. If the component of the space that you want to further develop is lift and motion. Is the MagRav a good tool to use for learning still?
Yes, you misunderstood, not you, I mean students and knowledge seekers as a whole misunderstood the purpose of MagRav, where the MagRav systems are the backbone of the, what you call the enhancement unit. We have become, we use the MagRav technology in supporting the off-grid system of the both enhancement units in the center. They are set this way now. We have developed on this way. The backbone power supply for the MagRav system in generating plasma and current the way we need it is done through what they call it, the MagRav system. I will not teach it, I will not put it out into the open, but that's what it is. We are using MagRav generators in these two units. And this is one of the reasons for delay in finalizing the production, in completion of the, what do you call it, tests with the MagRav units, how we see. Because there's a lot of other parameters involved more than what you can understand or what is in public. The two enhancement units just this week are, what do you call it, off-grid, totally off-grid. And that's what we said from the beginning.
One more question from me, and I'm sure you probably have addressed that already in detail, and that is there no way that I can run afoul of the FDA?
This is not a medical system, this is in body enhancement.
Okay.
We are not dealing with medical equipment.
Okay, but it said in the stock market paper that it was a class 1 medical device.
Yes, it's an enhancement. There are two enhancement unit certification. One as a medical and one as a body enhancement. All the goods are exported as a body enhancement unit. It's like a sports, because we tried to get this sorted in China. Chinese authorities looked at every aspect of this enhancement unit, and there is nothing for it. It all falls within the sports game, what do you call it, material. Okay. Because we are below 24 watt, and we do not produce any radiation or anything else. And we are within the structure of the normal, whatever you use at home for your health. We fall in that category.
Okay,
but,
and some, sorry.
Okay, it does not fall within the FDA regulations.
Great, and it does affect other people's computers?
No.
No? Someone said earlier it might fry other people's computers.
So a lot of people talk a lot of things what they like.
Okay.
The systems now, we are actually on Zoom. The two systems are on Zoom, but we don't let public to come in. What we said we do, it is on. The monitoring team, the development team is watching it 24 hours a day. We just what we received as nonsense. I told you it led us to curtail a lot of things. As most of you know, whenever we've done a test, especially in this scale, we've always been open to public. We've been open our channels for people to look, to be there live with us. But we've seen how one lady has decided to go to the authorities in Austria and make all sorts of false claims and everything else. So we shut it down. Now you understand how we operate. It's not there. I can get you instant picture of what is going on in the center now. But we've seen, what do you call it, people abusing, and so we closed it down. We can all, we're just talking about it half an hour ago. We are on Zoom sessions continuously. We watch how it reacts, how systems are, what's going on in the center. But unfortunately, who you thought was the supporter of the foundation has turned up to show their true face. Every time the foundation went to the maximum to deliver the technology, the last minute we got hit. And we couldn't understand how this they knew so precisely. Nobody except me knew, and organizers of the Eindhoven show, that a car was on the move for flight show, except one other person in my house. And blah, we got hit in the house. I was shocked for months. How did this happen? And you've seen it. Just before they knew the enhancement centers are ready, we got hit. But we preempted the hit. And we are there. All of you at the moment and tomorrow or tonight, you could have literally live watch and see what's happening and discuss the position and what we see. Unfortunately, it's not so. We do. The number of people, very handful of lists, handful of people who have access to this at the moment. We said we go public. We went public. We are on the Zoom. We are protected, and we carry on working.
And how many doctors would I want to recruit?
One.
One, okay.
Well, the doctors are just too much. What happened, the process is that when most of the people come in, they have a list of medication which they take. Doctors have to approve such a person. They do all the checking that they don't have any harm, pacemakers and everything else. And then they approve for the what they've been taught. Yes, this person can get in the machine. And then is with the supervision of the doctors, after some time, the doctor decides on the reduction of the medication. And with the consultation of the patient's doctor and the doctors from the enhancement center, they start withdrawing medication. And one of the reasons we say it takes up to 14 weeks is primarily for the withdrawal of the medication, not for the use of the enhancement unit. People who are on 20, 30 tablets, you cannot withdraw all of it in one go. There is a program, there is a structure that the doctors, the patient doctor and the doctor of the enhancement center plan out how to withdraw the medication and what symptoms to look for and when to reintroduce or withdraw. This is why every patient takes between 10 to 12 weeks, sometimes 14 weeks, is primarily the withdrawal of the medication that is done by the doctors.
Would a pharmacist be sufficient?
No, has to be a medical doctor.
Be a doctor, okay.
What is on the plan in the second phase of the operation is sometime in the middle of next year or sometime during the next year. will set up a central medical center in city of Isfahan in Iran. And that becomes our central control, which means every patient, every person who uses systems will be monitored. So we bring the monitoring of the patients to one central station and maybe one part-time doctors. But that is what we take 30% of the fee of the patients for setting and completion of these processes and the training in the background. Doctors from one center can monitor 200-300 patients. But this is in the back end of next year if we succeed. Involves huge costs in setting up a live center, which means doctors from anywhere in the world will have access 24 hours to a group of maybe 300-400 doctors to support. So when you have a patient in the United States, goes to the central doctor for the whole of the United States, maybe 3 or 4 doctors. They monitor, they can interview live. We don't need to be a patient there. And then they say, yes, this system can be used for how long and whatever. But this is in the back end of next year. We are about 6 months, 8 months behind our schedule because of the corona.
And if I talk to a doctor, what type of time commitment would that be? They would basically just monitor the patient at the beginning and then a few times along the way?
More or less, yes. But the thing is, you have to understand when you have 3 units, you have between 20 to 25 patients on a daily basis. So you will see there is a need for a full-time doctor present. Because these 25, they go through processes. Somebody's medicine has to be reduced. Somebody has a problem physically. Then you need a physiotherapist. There's essential to be in the premises that the people can do the exercises and the rest while they're waiting for the 2 sessions. It's all getting done. It's just that we are, as I said, we are behind with Corona. But now we're catching up, and the whole thing is entering its final phase. We have a commitment to complete by what they call it, end of this month, that the production starts, and we go into delivery in early December. Getting the materials for building this enhancement unit is not easy. It is not the normal material. So it takes time, and it takes a lot of understanding of the operation. But certain units, especially the 3 units which go to Arizona, are set with parallel with other systems to go for flight. Each enhancement unit, in principle, should be able to complete and operate as a full space system. Flight, food, and what I call a pharmacy.
And Mr. Keshe, all that is contained within the MagRev technology, basically, the MagRev itself?
Yes.
And so as a teaching tool, what, I'm not going to go into configurations but based on the blueprint that you provided us and we really appreciate
the Keshe Foundation blueprint MagRev is for the MagRevs which you produce. Keshe Foundation produces its own MagRevs, totally different.
Yeah, yes, I understand, but just using it as a teaching tool to get people involved, because it's still such a great example of teaching and getting
in
an
a
understanding.
way, yes, in a way people understand the flow of the field. But the MagRev units and the system we have developed is not in public domain. We never teach it in public domain. And we secure it and nobody can touch it. They cannot break into the system, and even if they do, they don't understand. There is more or less a couple of hundred of processes which cannot be decoded. It cannot be, as far as we see, reverse engineered.
No, I understand that. What I meant was as using it as a teaching tool. Is there something
Yes,
that
we can use the MAGRAVs as a teaching tool. There is no problem with it.
But
But
is there
depends
anything to look at that we may have neglected to focus on to become more successful with it?
No, it's the understanding. As I said, the MAGRAV units which we have developed is on a principle of universal operation. Is not a normal operation system. And we developed this as part of the Keshe Foundation operational technology. We don't put everything we know in public. That's one thing we don't do. I learned that very past few years. We do not put our technology in the hand in public domain, especially at this level.
No, I understand that. I was just looking at using some kind of widget to help with teaching and getting people involved. It was a very good tool to excite people and motivate them to try to, because it was something that they were able to work with their hands. It's what most people could do. They could wind wires and do stuff.
Yes, I understand that. But on the other hand now, the way we see this is another way of, you're correct, to teach or to introduce. But at the moment, what we call cup of life are the most important ones, the way we see it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one more question, and that is, where does one go if I find people who want to participate in financing this? Where would they go to do that?
On the website, Keshe Foundation website, you just go for where you order a unit and the normal way. They fill it. There's going to be a new, what they call, a new form put up by Thursday, where people around the world, we had people who donated 1,000 for one city or 10,000 for another city. Now the form will go on that you donate so much for this city, and you can fill in the form, because at the moment, if you go in, you have to fill in for a unit which is 1 million, you only want to pay 10,000. And this causes problem for some people now. The Keshe Foundation team, the IT team, are putting a form up that you say, this is what I pay and I want it to be there for that country. And this will create a list transparent that everybody can see how much has been received by the manufacturing team for which city. And you say, I want to add another 1,000, 10,000 to it, and then we'll make a list of the cities which we have received funds for operation. And when they reach a point of what we call the threshold, the Keshe Foundation team kicks in to bring the system into operation in that city. But we are working with a number of groups, very large organizations worldwide who have shown interest to finance a large number of systems for a city per city. Since we announced this large organization, worldwide organization, which are close to the foundation, they have shown interest, and we are negotiating in the background. But when that comes, The freedom is with the foundation, and then Universal Council decides on position in the Earth Council. But that is months away. These things don't happen overnight. As a friend of ours said, we are waiting for Gates Foundation to come in and donate.
Oh, Mr. Keshe, I just wanted to ask you one more question about the energy pack that is the virus. And if you could give us a little bit more, I know you spoke of its kind of its origin in a way, and how it, you said that the virus is an energy pack.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to elicit some conversation about people's understanding of what that means as opposed to a cellular matter state energy pack or a cellular biological entity. And you talked about how it's a energy, but I'm trying to see if how to explain it, that it's not in the intermediary state, but it's in the plasma state of the MAGRAV as opposed to the intermediary of the MAGRAV inertia state.
The virus is, any viruses, is a plasma. And if it has a common denominator connection and strength, it'll leach on, or it gets attracted or envelops or become companion to the system. And this is how it works. There is a way that rays can become plasmas, but this in principle is not necessary to be known at this moment of time.
So I guess my question goes towards the fear that's associated with the energy pack, and how.
Well, I would like to go for this directly. What is the fear? Why do we use the word fear? The knowledge we have has to be rejoiced, not to have a fear. And if we know it, we can analyze it. There should be no fear. This is, I was discussing with a bunch of knowledge seekers. We have a solution for every virus. Any virus, which is with the boundary and the strength of the amino acid of the man, we have an answer for. It should be rejoiced, not a fear. We've seen this. I hear words coming out in the past couple of weeks, and it's a replication of what has been put to embed in the people's brain deliberately. We see it. We are not blind. There is no fear. There's never been a fear. The fear has come in the past 4 weeks, which we opened the hand of what I call the wound of misconduct. Otherwise, there's never been a fear. We got to rejoice. We got to understand that the technology is there to bring and improve and add to the knowledge of man. There's never been such a structure in the foundation. The only fear we had was a misconduct of the people from Belgium, and we've seen it. And that hasn't become to fear. I've seen this, a number of knowledge seekers come back. Why? Why do you have? You should celebrate. You should see what's happening in Iran. The government has, not the government, but the leadership have realized what has been kept in Iran and what is to come. And if you listen to the Brazilian teaching with the Iranian participation, as started now, joint collaboration between different groups of the Keshe Foundation to support each other. There is so much support. We become part of a national civil defense of Iran, officially. Because of all this fear, what they call mongering, which has started. You have a knowledge nobody has access to, nobody has known, and rejoice with it and develop it and deliver it. You're getting cities shut down one by one. Which knowledge seeker has gone on the internet? Which knowledge seeker has gone to anywhere? This is what it is. Teach the people one cup. It's become very few and everybody locked down. Don't have a fear and don't use this word because there is no fear. With this technology, we have no fear. I mean, acid body of the man has a very weak plasma field, and the knowledge we have, we can produce parallel below it. If you get hit by massive virus or massive energy pack, they're gone. Not much can be done. But if it's a persistent system like Corona, which attaches one to one cell, you have time, you have the knowledge, and you can do it yourself. Parallel, weaker. Choose 3 or 4 different samples, make 3 or 4 different mixtures, and see which one changes people's life faster. So you have found a match. It's just understanding how to manipulate field forces of the universe. And if you become good at it, field force of universe become your fuel. This is if you read the report and the confidential report given to the Iranian government in the background, most of the energy of the corona is used for feeding back to the body. We have to become wise in the knowledge, not just try to copy it. And don't have a fear. There is no absolute no fear. Fear started 4 weeks ago when we opened the hand of misconducts. Up to there was no fear. There was a lot of fear mongering in the background which we were watching, but there's never been this war should not even exist with us. If you have a fear, leave the Keshe Foundation. It means you haven't understood this. The first time man has the freedom not to have a fear. Understand what the plasma is, understand how rays can be converted to plasma, understand how you can create out of a plasma ray that you can deplete. Finished. This is what I do, and more or less, most of you know the knowledge.
So how do you maintain to be so humble without fear, as most of us have become, but kind of like as the last man standing, you have to watch the deception around you, and do you just try to wait till it dissipates, or do you actively, I mean, other than sharing the knowledge and helping people that you can, what else can, and elevating the souls, can the Universal Council be used to help to
You see,
in that matter?
I was talking about this today with one of the knowledge seekers. We stay very humble because we know the knowledge, but at the same time, we stay very alert to understand the change of the position around. The whole understanding of the knowledge seekers is to be humble to the knowledge you received and be so open that you can share it unconditionally. Maybe you have to realize that members of Universal Council and their support teams are in their infancy. They're still trying to find a way not to wobble. And a lot of you who are members of Universal Council went under the same pressure. You received so much pressure from the same person in the past 4 weeks because you used to be a member of the Universal Council, that you had to judge what's right, what's wrong. And I said to knowledge seekers in the past 48 hours that the best thing happened to the foundation is the appearance of this lady. That they have to judge, do they listen to one thing or to the whole of the technology and the change it brings? The division of the Keshe Foundation was planned a long time ago by the Belgians. We were aware of it. And then they brought somebody else from outside to get into education side. And we monitored it. We gave a room in the education side because we could contain it. And then they went for the Universal Council. Then they went for individual people. All that's been documented. The Universal Council went through the shakeup. They had to decide, even the Universal Council support him, because it was set up very precise to shake them. And those who stayed and stayed firm understood that they're for mankind, not more one misconducted woman. They had, and so we see them growing. They'll be tested, continuously tested. Continuously be tested. Now we see in the past 48 hours has been posted looking for IT and to help. No one should help with IT because they have linked to pedophile groups. Anybody help this lady, you will open access to pedophile groups. We contained it, we didn't go public with it. And if you have any connection, block very seriously. And what we tell you is in the court. She's well connected with the pedophile groups. We didn't know, we just opened the doors in past 48 hours. What we contained with Alan Sterling, the worm was sitting inside the foundation. Criminal record, not just talk. Judgments in the court of Belgium. Anybody who's asked to help with IT, you're helping children to be abused. We are very open about it. We already informed our lawyers and everybody else. And we opened the book because we protected the Keshe Foundation from this group. Now they have come asking for, you give any support to IT, you give opening files to children to be abused. We kept everything away from nobody could touch. Just understand that the foundation is as absolute infancy, 5 years, 10 years in the birth of such a technology, which is such a revolution to bring. change the life of every being on this planet is nothing. There's so much more to come. There's so much more to open up. There is so much unknown to be known. You got to understand the fundamental principle work of plasma, and in a way structured in your own life. And then you will see everything fits. If you look at the MAGRAPH system, if you're extending its fields, just look inside you. How can you do that with your soul? How do we come to a point to extend our souls to be in that point? You have to make these decisions in a split of a second. You get hit by the virus. How can I overcome it? It's me who has to stand it. As we start teaching as of this week and next week into the depth of the universal teaching, as I said in some of the other teachings, you don't carry any blood. You can't carry any circulation of the lymph. Carrying bone structure in the fields where the calcium is in a field reaction of the central core of the planet. How do you crawl? These are realities. You got to face it. It's going to come on to mankind in no time in space. Why do you think we start teaching about the 5 cups? Why do you think we start teaching about the soul? Why do you think we start teaching you for the interaction of the fields? How many millions of people as passengers you want to lose before you learn, or you want to learn before you go up to lose? This is what teaching is coming up from now on. This has never been taught, never been discussed, never been in the public domain to understand. Or you're just going around the universe like what I call animals in a cage, submarine in the water, just seeing what's happening, without actually being able to interact with it. We become a bunch of tourists who don't speak, don't see in a fish tank. Or the purpose of going to space is to interact with the rest of the family, rest of the universe. Enjoy the scenery. Don't spend 100 million light years in travel when you can do it in a split of a second. When you listen to some of the scientists, they tell you this is 10,000 light years away. And we know the light is how many speed of kilometers per second, and then make a year of it. Would you survive that long? Or your great children would survive that long? Or you develop a technology to be able to cover that space. Now we teach you that technology. Physicality has a problem. We put you in a little bit less G, you float. We put you in a little pressure, your eyes bulges out. We drop you a little bit too fast, your heart doesn't operate. There is no alternative for mankind to become the true traveler of space if they do not understand the purpose of the central energy of their body, which is the soul of the man. Then you choose the strength you want to go, and what the strength you want to manifest yourself at the point. The thinking is so deep, and fortunately or unfortunately, Corona has come to the point that will lead mankind to find a way out of this planet. The truth is, they want to chip you. Yeah. They want to give all of you injections. I see what's happening. Outside the exhibition center in Linz, every day at 2 o'clock, we get queue of 80 people, 80 cars. We can't even get into the center. They come in to give tests and they say how many people are contaminated. Now, let's put it this way. How many of you are going to be chipped? This is the whole plan. Control of mankind by control of chips. I'll give you one piece of advice. 20 kilometers above the planet Earth, they have no control. For travel of space, there is no control. Even if they get to that point. And I know what happens, what's going to happen. 2 weeks ago, the Keshe Foundation team had to fly out for a meeting with large investors. And we were told, we are clear, we are organized, we can go in. And when we arrived, the hotels refused us. They said, you have not come with the right papers. Every hotel refused us entry. And we had to go through the process, 3 days of a stay, because it was part of the work we were supposed to do. We took a boat in the sea. That's the only place we could stay. This is what is going to come to you. We taste it, we live with it. How many of you can find a boat, or how many of you will sleep on the street and the police will get you because you can't sleep on the street? Isn't this what happened in China? To many people who were traveling, they had no room in the hotel and no room in the hospital. They slept on the streets of Beijing. How many hours of video I watched with the national security of China? How are we going to do with these people on the street? How often are contaminated? Some were killed, some were died, some were executed, whatever. I tasted this last week, 2 weeks ago, personally. So the only option left, if you cannot get through, is to leave and start life outside, that there's no control. This is one of the options that mankind has today. It's a new option, new enhancement units, new flight systems. And what happens to you when you become long-term passenger of space? You cannot live in the weightlessness and lose some of your bone mass. You cannot stay in space without guarantees of your life. You cannot stay in space with emotional missing of the earth. You cannot stay in space not knowing where is going to be the next home. Or we become a long-term tourist of the universe.
Mr. Keshe, I think those who would go to space would be too worried about those who remain here. They'd want the situation sorted out before they left.
No, really, the one who go to space become detached. And it's part of the process of the enhancement unit.
Does that detachment mean that we would not have feeling in the sense of for everything back here?
It's in a way that everything is
Because I
going to
think
be okay.
I would hate to lose that.
The thing is, we never, the whole understanding is very simple. This is not the first time it's happened in the universe. We know the galaxies are on course of clash. We know the stars are on a course of clash. We know there are even universes which clash. Very much like an earthquake. You have no home. It's happened. In a way, mankind will come to understand that there are other emotions which is not he's aware of. That by becoming man of space, become aware of. I've explained this before. That in a way, why do you miss home? Is it your loved ones? Is it the scenery? And if you understand the emotion of the what we call presence, which man has never known, what does that emotion means? The emotion of presence, which is unknown to man, is one of the most important emotions of the creation. Which means you present what is in front of you, what you wish. You miss your child, you miss your scenery. Through the understanding the strength of the emotion you created, does not exist. This is, as I said many, many times, there are so many emotions that mankind even is not aware of because he doesn't have the power to understand what that emotion is. And this is a power, this is an understanding that the man now has to learn. How come you dream about your father who died 20, 30, 40 years ago and he has a presence? But you cannot reach it. But that knowledge is within your structure of your soul. This is what we call the feeling of presence. How come you can dream of him telling you things and some about the past, some will happen in the future? Why can't you have that feeling that when you feel that, you don't need to might dream about your father, but you can have his presence? Because it's within the structure of the soul of the man. You interact with the soul of the universe to create, not within the brain of the man. These are new understandings that we open to humanity in the coming time. Why do you need to miss when you can make the presence? How many times you have been, let's say, on a kitchen table and something tells you to move something. I feel it, I move it. Because it's not me who observes that, it's the presence of the cup, the soul of it. This is one thing that other feelings and emotions mankind has to learn to extend the interaction between the soul of the physicality of the man and the soul of the man to the soul of the man and interaction of the other souls in the universe. In a way, if you understand it, the size of the brain of the man between the interaction of two souls become the span of the universe. Now, remember when we said in teachings, what's the purpose of the creation of the soul on this planet? This is a nursery for the seed of the stars, galaxies. So where is the soul that left as your father and has become a star somewhere in the galaxy or the universe? Maybe still in its infancy, but the start of a new cycle. How come you have connection to it? during your dream, but not when you're awake. These are understandings which we open as we go into the space development.
That brings me to a question or an observation that I've begun to see, Mr. Keshe. The cups of man, the cup 1 and cup 2 that I made for family members, that I no longer put salt water in the cups. I just put water in the cups. The cup of physicality has become encrusted in salt completely. Is that a way of the soul trying to manifest in physicality through what is available?
You see, when you misunderstand or not misunderstand, you don't see part of the structure. When you make a cup of man, yeah, or 2 cups or 3 cups or the 5-cup structure, you have set up a flow of fields that through that process, they have to find balance in their operation. You put no salt in the water, but there is some salt that starts the process.
Well, like a father, I didn't want to abandon my children. I keep them watered with in a way with love and physicality. I just didn't want to abandon them dry out through.
So you don't dry
evaporation.
them out, but this is what I explained to you. You look at the cups, and it's something I've been repeating myself again and again. You have to look at the field flow amongst the cups. Ignore it. You know something? Just put a piece of glass in front of it. You don't see it. Look at what cups, how do they interact in the field?
Yes, I do. I just saw this as an observation that
the salt is in other containers, and through the field flow, it's transferred to the cup you put no salt in. Because it needs a balance. That salt on top creates the salt condition needed, the environment for that cup, for it to be part of the set. You then put in it flies over it, and it creates that feel for the water to be there in the salt you need.
Yes, because I don't put salt water in either cup anymore. I just keep them watered, so to speak. And so, but like I said, for whatever reason, the salt continues to grow just on the.
It does it for whatever reason. There's a number of reasons what it does. First of all, you put nano-coated materials in. You have the basis of sodium. And in your water, there's chlorine. All the waters around the world is filled with chlorine for keeping it fresh or whatever. So you just need, and don't forget, you created that nanomaterial on the strength of the NaOH, sodium-based space gap. You have a sodium space gap and you have a chlorine in your water. What do you expect? Even if you put the salinated water, you still will get it, because in the layers which you created the nanomaterial, the nano space is confined and dictated by the original NaOH. So you have the basis of the what we call sodium in your layer. And now you have created a magnetic field area with chlor. What do you expect? NaCl. But because it's in the form of the fields, not in, gathers above it, or sometimes in it. Understand the science.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I apologize. The reason I say for some unknown reason is that I'm trying to elicit the knowledge from you, not for myself, but for others. I don't mean
No
to
problem.
be that way.
It's good. No, we come to an understanding with the heads of the Keshe Foundation, and you see a lot of it will come up, and a lot of it started with the explanation of 5 cups a couple of weeks ago. The heads of foundations have realized there is a lot of knowledge, but a lot of it not understood fully. And we start explaining for you to understand. And questions like you put is perfect because it brings some angle of understanding and what is missing. We start explaining the fundamentals of the foundation, which we took for granted that people understand, but apparently didn't. And this, what I explained to you about the salt, is a fundamental understanding of why you don't need to put the salt, but primarily what is needed to the extent of the salt of the cup will produce itself.
Well, that kind of goes back to how it was very hard for me to explain to people how you could produce GANs without having plates in the waters or water in the cup. How to create the condition through the fields to produce something. And I don't like to use that of nothing, but there's because there's always something. But how to
is to understand,
right.
to change the understanding to field transfer, energy transfer. Simple. Mankind looks for physicality for confirmation of existence. Now, mankind has to understand flow of the fields to confirm the essence of its existence, which is the soul. We have gone one step further in knowledge. Up to now, you had to confirm, show me, I believe you. Now, I have the fields. You have to believe what you can do with it. This is change of the game.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
My time belongs to all of you. But if you understand how to use it and how to add to the knowledge, as I said, in this technology, there'll be no magic. It's understanding the technology is the magic of it.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for answering my previous question. One other question I have is Fukushima. They have just announced.
I've seen what they say they're releasing back. We covered this some months ago. This was a plan months and months ago. There is certain amount of what they want to call contamination, but essentially in totality, the Japanese government has done with what they can. The water's up and as pure as it could be. There's a certain amount of contamination which they can handle. These are all the waters which is already has led to creation of monatomic silver and gold for them on regular basis.
So you don't see any danger to anybody from this?
Unless there is something which is not purified, no. The company in America has become a multi-billion now who's doing the cleanup for them. You got to realize they have to put it this way, otherwise they have to say how much they're making out of it. The best thing happened to the Japanese government was Fukushima made so much billions for them. They're making more money out of the long term as investment than actual assets they could have.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
This is what we see
I'm
because
sorry
we were
that
involved in
happened.
it. Pardon?
I'm sorry that happened, because if Keshe Foundation had been known at that time, we wouldn't be facing the situation we're trying to get the information out about coronavirus now.
The process is, it's one of the things, that's why I was talking about this to knowledge seekers in the past few days, how the Japanese Keshe Foundation disappeared out of shamefulness of what they did. One or two people. Japanese couldn't take the shame of it. It's still active. Japanese Keshe Foundation team is still working in the background. But what they try to do by a number of people, by trying to damage the foundation, has brought shame to them. In general, TEPCO has done very well out of Fukushima.
Mr. Keshe, with regard to the one drop, one life, when you go to demonstrate the creation of an entity through that process that you said you would do, will the entity be free of the need to consume, or will it have to be fed and nurtured to survive?
I have asked for a fish tank to be brought and placed between the two units in the next couple of weeks for demonstration of this purpose. In the next couple of weeks, when the systems are ready for us to do, you will see a fish tank in the center of the exhibition. And we will demonstrate the presence of man or life in that fish tank. We already moved on that. And the life will be in the existence of the presence of the soul. And then it will decide to manifestation of itself. A man, a fish, whatever. But more or less we know what it's going to be. You will see in coming days where the UFO are, you will see a fish tank. And there's a reason for it, to confirm that we can create life with one drop.
So if it manifests in, then it is bound to follow the fact that it'll need to survive through consumption, or will it be able to get everything it needs? Will it be able to breach that point of our understanding where it feeds itself? It has that capability.
The mutation from matter to energy in the presence of life is attribute of creator. And whatever we create will have the capability to feed from the environment of itself. If it's in the soul, it will be an energy from the environment. If it's a matter of physicality, it'll be dependent on the presence of the what energy is available for it to exist. And this is part of the knowledge for it to be understood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You got to realize that the power of members of Universal Council and the Earth Council to be able to guide man has to be above the present man's knowledge. And in the process, the members of the Universal Council will receive this elevation of the soul in their structure of their work. And you cannot help if you don't have higher access. It's natural. But at the same time, you have to be low enough, humble enough to be able to deliver the ones who need it. And this process of what we call creation of the structure for understanding of the soul of the man or any being in the universe comes primarily through the operation of Universal Council. And in so many ways, new, what we call technologies and understanding of new technologies will be primarily in the work of the foundation in the background, but delivery of it in a sensible way, how to be done, will become the responsibility of the Universal Council. Is the mankind ready? On which level this knowledge to be transferred? The work of the Universal Council has become multitasking in many directions. And for this, it brings them wisdom and a lot of knowledge how to handle things. And then become the key to operation and opening of the universal community to mankind. Knowledge, and the way we spread it in the coming weeks and months, will reach a point of maturity on 21st of March 2021. And I was asked why? Why is this date so significant? The reason for it is very simple. It's not just happened to be the springtime for humanity in the Northern Hemisphere. In general, the whole structure of the universe around that time falls into one line of transfer of totality instantaneous. In time when what we call cosmologists and others will look into it, understand what we meant. It's not only one point to start, it's realignment of many, many directions, not only through galaxies and the universe, but universe. Many universes align around that time. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, this is Alex again. I want to thank you very, very much for being here today. And I want to thank all the knowledge seekers who were here to listen to our presentations and to participate in a very, very successful day. So I want to express my gratitude for that. And to Peggy and Mark for holding the fort and all the other souls who have been here today. Thank you so much.
As I said to knowledge seekers in past days, as we enter into universal teaching of understanding of the knowledge of the universe, we might extend the knowledge seekers teachings to 2 to 3 a week. And trying to compact as much as possible to be able to meet. If need, we will go that way. But then it's on different knowledge seeking groups to trying to catch up with the new knowledge which is shared. And to understand the knowledge of universe for humanity will be a big struggle. But it's not that all will happen at the same time to everyone, but as people understand, they gradually graduate to the next level that it makes them to be able to be passengers of the universe. So if it goes the way we think, and if you're short of time, the teachings will extend to 2 or 3 a week. And we'll see what happens.
Mr. Keshe, question, is there a prerequisite or something that we need to prepare for the new teaching coming up?
No. In a way, the new teachings is, to a lot of you, will be a lot of talk because a lot of people are not mature to that level yet. But as they mature, they see the steps and the path. But many of the knowledge seekers have evolved to that point that they can mature very rapidly. One of the biggest problems for humanity will be how to exist in the depth of the universe with no bananas, no bed. Where do you sleep? Where do you feed? How do people in the universe feed themselves? How do people in the universe correct any misfunctioning of their systems, their body, their soul? Now that has become the knowledge of man because you're becoming one of them. Unfortunately, Byers is too far in Germany to get to.
Mr. Keshe, may I ask you a question? When you talk about the hotels that they didn't allow you, it means in the future, if say I come to Vienna, the hotel is going to ask me for a chip in my hand in order to get into a hotel?
Possibly. They want certification, and certification soon will be not enough, and then you have to have an injection. They are setting up. These are well planned.
But Mr. Keshe, we can do Airbnb. So when we give each other a room, we don't care about the hotel. Like I can go to.
The thing is, very soon, the way we see it, even to get a flight, you need one. The whole structure is set up that way. The economical collapse is time needed, and they are pushing for that time need. You can't open restaurants. You cannot go to restaurants unless it's space gap. You cannot get on a bus unless it's a space gap. You cannot go swimming unless it's a space gap. You have one, then what do they do? How do they know you have one? You'll be carrying certain braces and whatever that you're given to and you're controlled by.
But Mr. Keshe, if they announce such a thing that we have to.
They have already started it. They don't need to announce it.
But Mr. Keshe, if it goes into actual operation, half of the people in the United States, they're going to be on the street because nobody wants to have a chip.
The United States is 5% of the world population. Insignificant. I don't know why Americans, you see yourself as everything, the world is just you. This has to change. Secondly, the rest of the world are under the same operational control. It's not that they have decided. They have brought the governments to agree to carry it out with them to do it.
But Mr. Keshe, when I say half of the American, they're going to come on the street. If it happens in other countries, they as well, they're gonna oppose it. People are not stupid.
Right? Because in the city I live
in, sorry about that. We don't go into this because what I see, what I feel, I'm sure is when many of us, this thing is far more advanced than planned and it catches the eye. It's much more advanced, ahead programmed. They accepted 30% reduction in world economy. And at 4 to 6%, are very happy achieving it. This is not, you want even to go to a supermarket, you have to have a chip, otherwise you can't enter. Because the people inside are afraid they catch a virus from you. They use the fear mongering and a control. You can't enter bakery, you can't have electricity unless you can prove that electricity used for people who are safe. They are well planned, organized. And one of the things which I brought and bring it to you, one of the only ways you will find yourself in safe and secure hand to do it is the 5 cups. And you will understand what it means in its operation. And you have seen their agents telling you to break it up. Because they knew this is a breakthrough. The 5 cups is one of your solutions out of Corona for everything. And their handmade agents tell you to break it up.
Mr. Keshe,
Yes.
it goes back to what Stephen was alluding to. I kind of understood where he's coming at. We need the foundation, our mouthpiece, the Universal Council, to counter this in a way where people can be ready for it, since it's inevitable, like you said.
You see, you have no media coverage. And our Universal Council members have not got the experience to break into the media on the internet. We have not seen it. They're still tied up to write a letter for days in their meetings, than going directly into direct distribution on the internet, asking the other knowledge seekers to participate to cover the process. I don't make a move for Universal Council. Universal Council has to come to the foundation and ask us what they want. Writing a letter, doing this, all can be done. I try to show the Universal Council or through the internet covered Austrian population. We don't have the expertise inside to do. So the old traditional ways are still the norm in the Universal Council. This should not be that difficult to break through the blockage by the media. But on the other hand, the Universal Council has not learned to utilize the knowledge seekers. And this is it. This is so many, we expect so much. Covering the mass media is more than the media on the televisions and the internet and the other parts. Not many people watch the CNN or the news, but they all at the moment listen, write, and do the media, which is the public media. the Universal Council has not matured yet. They want to do everything themselves. They don't understand they have a huge base of knowledge seekers, and everyone now wants to stop the corona. Use the platform, teaching platform on Thursdays, which is the main line of communication. We give it to you, but people have to see direction. I teach, I spread the knowledge. Application, implication of it, we still try to do by commercializing to show you it does. But managing it and running it and spreading it is the responsibility of the Universal Council. They haven't learned yet. One of the biggest problems for Universal Council is the feeling of failure if it doesn't work. There is no joy of, it doesn't matter even if we save one life, we have done what we came here for.
Well, that's why I had mentioned Germany and what's currently occurring, the silent protest and the doctors and the scientists getting together that are challenging the German government to prove what they assert about the virus and the testing and all that.
We had cases, we hear of cases that they have not even been to the doctor and they say your blood test result is positive. The people who've been told to go to the centers already positive before they arrive there. So it shows there's a pattern of work. There's without a doubt, there is a virus. We see it, we see dead people. We operate in hospitals full of what I call patients with this. It's not that they made up, but figure-wise, does not match. Our governments have gone into scaremongering themselves.
Are certain areas deliberately targeted with infection? Is my question.
This virus grows very rapidly in a given condition.
So it needs a specific temperature, a specific humidity?
It's a specific field environment. Temperature and humidity is a man's condition, matter condition.
Field.
Viruses are independent of these things. We see it in a specific position in supermarkets, where there is, you feel it, where there is vegetables fresh or meat fresh.
So it's attracted to vegetables, it's attracted to meat?
No, don't go that way. We see it in certain places where there is amino acid presence. Where do we get the amino acids? We have it in vegetation, we have it in flowers, we have it in meat, we have it in cheese. The existence of mutation comes when it gets access to be able to cover a protein and live within it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
It's one thing we observed. This is part of the observation of it. And this is what we always said, cover yourself. When there is a need, you think you're infected.
So,
pardon.
as you said, Mr. Keshe, if we spray ourselves from top to toe with the waters from the Gans of Cup 1, that's the true test. That if
you think you're contaminated, yes.
Right. But my question was,
no,
go ahead.
Let me explain.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have a cup 1, you have cup 2. And now you have to test to see what it is. If you feel you're contaminated, you start using the material. If you are in a contaminated environment continuously, you cover yourself with it. You don't wait to be caught with it. If you are in no zone area, which is no damage, you don't need to till the time when it appears, you need to use it. This is very clear in all the teachings we've done. So if you are in contaminated area, you need to cover yourself to create a condition that is outside your body, and it can be extracted by it or be a presence of it on your clothes. You spray, you don't spray anywhere else, and this gradually will transfer its energy. If you are contaminated, you use it to extract it. And if you are healthy, nothing happens, you're in a clean environment, you don't need it. You don't take aspirin just because you got it in the drawer every morning you get up, do you?
Yes, what I meant to say is that you've provided a true test and a true solution for this. What I was trying to get to is that the testing that they're using for, you know, the people that are not sick and saying they are, and the false test, that was what we were challenging. And not that we're just challenging what they're saying is a test and what they're saying is a virus. We have a solution no matter what it is. And so just to get that conversation, but my question was for you is that when you showed the subway, that subway video of the man putting on the pole or whatever, and then I think about what was happening to the Keshe Foundation in Iran. Could it have been a poison that's similar to similar effects to it, because there's anthrax and there's meningitis, a real pathogens.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost.
At one time during a broadcast, you showed a video of a gentleman in, I think it was a subway car that was being filmed, where he went into his mouth and then put it on the pole, a saliva. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so there was some type of transmission, or something was being used to spread something. Okay. And so you would think, well, why would someone do that? Or for whatever reason they did. Or when we looked at what Miss Mohammadi was, something that was happening to the Keshe Foundation in Iran, I was thinking, how was someone able to manipulate a virus in that group? I was just asking, do you think it possibly could have been a poison instead of a virus?
We had a discussion very recently with the Iranian team. Since we have managed to get rid of Mr. Mohammadi and number of people which they've been continuously, the team has been continuously in touch with, we have no virus infection, zero. Absolutely zero. This is what I was discussing with the Iranian team last week. These boys went to the verge of what we call the green stuff from the stomach just before dying, and we were there. And since we got rid of a number of people in the Keshe Foundation Iran, none of our team is affected. None. So they were continuously produced and introduced. When they keep you on the edge, you don't see it. But when you're not on the edge, you can monitor. And yes, there is no doubt. It's the same as my poisoning. Now we see a lot of facts, how it was orchestrated and fake things was made around it to show others being affected too. But in fact, primarily was to poison me. The rest was a show we didn't see. Now we see.
This sort of information should be shared with other groups that are setting up, Mr. Keshe. that they should look out for these sort of things with the people they bring in?
The process is Keshe Foundation, knowledge seekers, and the technology with the virus we put out clearly conflicts with what was the aim and the plan. Then we don't fight it. We deliver much more stronger technologies that it overcomes the situation. We have a window of time to do a lot of work, and we'll carry on with our work. And knowledge seekers have to understand how to apply it and how to evolve with it. And when you teach higher standard, when you teach higher level of understanding, then you will understand, people will understand what is on not so significant. And they'll find a solution. This is why we start introducing, as of this week, next week, the universal teachings. Because when you're taught a higher level, as I said, 1, 2, 3 becomes irrelevant when you're doing integration and differentiation at the university, because those were the numbers. Now we try to teach very rapidly that many of the people on this planet become educated to a higher understanding that the present science on Earth has no access to, so you can overcome. That's the only way we crushed everything into it.
So, Mr. Keshe, then the presence of the emotion of presence you talked about, could that be instincts?
What do you mean?
Well, we're just talking about how we can be elevated and educated, and how we can overcome some of this stuff. Now, we don't know what is planned. We can't predict. We just have to. We are in it. So if we start this new teaching, the emotion of presence, then we can be knowledgeable and identify that, okay, something is going on, then we have to apply this right away. So could that be
That depends on your enlightenment. There are other ways to do. If there are enough knowledge seekers and you understand the work of the plasma, what are the frequencies are made of? What are the manifestation of radio television? Wouldn't you be able to directly go out with your message, even though they don't use your technology? We can't tell you what to do, but we gave you the technology to do it with. Soon you'll more understand more.
So like for example, they're very open about what they're going to do. Like Mr. Keshe said about the chipping, they're very open and vocal. They have been since 2010. They've been telling us what's coming, but we don't want to focus on that because that takes away from what you're seeking to do.
You see, let me explain to you something, and it's caused huge problem in Iran at the moment. The technology was tested by a university, confirmed correct. If you listen to the Friday teaching of Brazil, you get the same message. Then they chose a hospital. The success in the hospital was so high that it was accepted. A proposal with my name my application was submitted to Tehran Medical School. They were told 100% is accepted and it has to go through the committee. Committee's already agreed with it. The last 10 minutes of acceptance, they were just writing the conclusions to accept. And university high-ranking officer walks into the room. He was never invited. He was not supposed even to be there because he had nothing to do with him. And he brings an instruction from the Iranian government, delivering to the committee that this technology, this cannot be certified. Now you have to understand why a nation bent backwards to kill its own citizens. Then you understand there is a bigger structure. As I said in past days, the people in charge have interrogated and they questioned the president of his interference with Keshe Foundation directly face to face. We are that high in Iran. He categorically denied he's done such a thing, but the officials outside the Iranian government, outside Iran, in other government confirmed such a telephone call has taken place. When I explained to you, Keshe Foundation, my position is literally talked on the tables of the power of the world, you think is a joke. We sat and literally could not believe, because the president had to answer directly, what has he done with the Keshe Foundation? Why has he made telephone calls to block the Keshe Foundation? And he says, I have nothing to do with Mr. Keshe. Everything he does, we support. The government is there to support him, but he makes a call to the embassies and everything else. And now there's a decision. Is the president lying or not? Now they're opening all the communications and telephone lines. This is the reality about what's happening around us. But you have a knowledge to be ahead of it, you have a knowledge to be above it.
So in a way, the governments rely on experts, you would think, to make their decisions. What we are proposing is the questions of the experts from other experts. We've tried to educate the experts on how to approach the other experts. And in a way, just trying to establish a communication, a transparent way of communicating with the people that are in question. And so, and that's why I had mentioned the Robert Koch Institute in Germany, which pretty much has perpetuated this, you know, because they have the top experts in the world there. And it's almost like we're calling them out to say, you know, you said one thing, but the papers that the scientific papers that you cite say a different thing. And so now what we're seeing is that Nobel Prize winners, men that are past an age where they care about their funding or their thing, but they care about their reputations, like Professor Luc Montagnier, who is the discoverer of HIV, and who has come and said certain things and now he's been destroyed because he said something. And so you have retired virologists and scientists that are still alive, thankfully, that were originally the discoverers of these things, now coming out and finally saying something different. So in a way, we've elevated their souls so that they can no longer cover. And so like, you know, Dominic Dwyer in Germany, and people that they've said one thing, but the evidence of the scientific papers say a different thing. Let's have a conversation. Why are you doing this? And they have to be, and the Universal Council, I think, can perpetuate this conversation between and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the German people in the silent protests are trying to make this happen in Germany, because I think Germany is like the spear, the point of the spear, where they can make change happen. And if change happens in one country, in Germany, then I think the rest of the countries will have to be looked at. So Dolores Cahill in Ireland and other highly respected virologists and scientists are asking these questions. Let's have a conversation, because the cause cannot be worse than the solution. And so if the solution is to lock down and to do all these draconian things, those are not solutions at this time. Maybe they were good at the initial beginning, but now the things that they're doing are not. So we're trying to, so when Nobel laureates come out and say, well, you know, let's check what are these people saying? Who's the peers? The whole religious modern science is being tested just because of people that want to have the facts separated from the falsehood. You know, let's get back to evidence-based medicine, evidence-based science. And as the Keshe Foundation, well, there's more than that to just the matter state. There's other things, but this helps perpetuate that conversation that will help solve some of our political problems and our economic problems. But as Mr. Keshe said, there's big things that have been planned, and we just want to maybe throw a monkey wrench into their machinery to get it to stop. Let's take a look at it, and we don't have to go down that path. Let's find a peaceful path. Thank you.
The whole structure of this virus has been tested past 15 years with different viruses, and what responses they got from different governments, they fine-tuned it. How response they got from people, they fine-tuned it. And the process is very clear. The only solution more or less left, which can change everything, is a massive major breakthrough in one way or another by Keshe Foundation Technology for Virus or another group. We should not be illuded with that we are the only solution. And at the moment, they're silencing everything everywhere. And they will not allow it to grow because it's part of their plan, the bigger plan. The plan is control of humanity by lying and cheating and whatever they do. Fear. We see it. I single-handedly been watching for past 4 or 5 weeks how fear has run into and they try to use the fear. But unless we find a way to show their true color, who they are and why, as you said, or introduce a radical technology openly that they can change it, or do the two together. And as I always said, I even said to the Chinese, we are not the only solution to Corona, because if you have any technology which works on the basis of the GANs, be it plants or whatever, or mixture of the Keshe Foundation technology with others, it'll work. But the plan is so big to control everything. You have to realize, what have they promised to the world leaders? What is the promise to those who run the nations? why suddenly we got attacked this way at the verge of delivering one of the most advanced technologies. And I read it to you. It says, I personally go to the government and do this and that in Austria. That's from the lady. If you stood by technology to be developed and then you do this the last minute, shows you never were there. You think about the conspiracy in the world. I live with the reality of it in my household. And I see how they plan it. Just go and read what's been put on the internet. I personally go and see the government that the Lens exhibition stops. Hello? Are we asleep?
Not yet, Mr. Keshe.
They thought we were asleep.
It's ring a bell when you are saying in the media is not seeing almost nothing about the spreading of knowledge. And right now I asking to Randy if it's possible to share in the Facebook your interview. Realizing
You can put a link. Nobody can stop you putting the link.
okay,
You
for
can
this
put the links of the interview anywhere. The problem with what we see now is the advancement of technology does not count. But you have to understand the limitation of these people is within this atmosphere of this planet within 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. They cannot enforce anything about it. And if the mankind or humanity creates that condition, let them be where they are. They cannot enforce it. And the enhancements unit we are putting out is part of this technology. The new teaching is part of this to allow mankind to overcome this suppression. And as I said, when you're in it, you don't see it. When you stand outside, you see how you've been set up, how you think the world is in set up, how I was set up in my own household by one of their agents. If we tell you, you'll be shocked, but that's how it is. This is the way these people work. And if you even read the writings which is coming to you, an illiterate woman writing shows it's not, I know it's not her handwriting. I see it, I know. All the things you're getting in pages and pages is not there. It's written and just posted, glue paste. Copy paste. Then you understand how they control other things. The lady doesn't even know the difference between the think and the think. Which one has a G and which one has a K. It's written and posted to control you, to believe into lies. It's the same with the rest of media.
for not how to say, not misunderstanding. I ask it about your interview in the.
Yes, you were told you can use the link and post it anywhere. There's no
Okay.
misunderstanding. You are misunderstood.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you very much. This is what we try to explain, how they control everything and how we have become part of it. We have, if I had this 3 months, 4 months, which I've stood back and see, if I would have done it in my time 10 years ago, I would have seen it. How come every time you're just about to deliver something, you get hit and only 1 or 2 people know? And now we see it. We open the hand of one of the biggest agents ever infiltrated the Keshe Foundation in a very clean way, all with evidence. And then you can imagine what they do with other scientists. When you read what is posted on the internet in past weeks, she can't even know how to write. It's all given to do to create the maximum damage. But now we are wise to it. You're getting the same with the media. You think silent protest will fruit much? I hope so.
Well, they're committed to occupying Berlin until the government and the scientists sit down with the other scientists that are asking these questions. There's declarations that have been signed by hundreds of scientists and thousands of doctors that have these same questions.
Yes, we can do, but what is the bigger plan? The other plans are going ahead while they're busy making protests. The only way you can win this game, you got to understand, the people who have set these things up have entered direct negotiation with Keshe Foundation in the past 3 weeks. That they could delay us, they could buy us, and they found up to now no way to buy us. We don't divulge, but we are direct negotiation with these people who are trying on the face of it to be promoting us. We're not just a bypass. I try to keep some information away from knowledge seekers, but in essence, part of it you all know. WHO has realized KF is an answer. They found the solution. So now we have to butter them up a little bit, go to Rothschild family, finance them a little bit, and then we can get what we want.
Well, it goes back to the last man standing. If we all have the technology and the capability to be and support us as last man, the more of us that are last man standing, we're like candles that or crystals that are all across this planet that you eventually people get to decide for themselves what's in their best interest, not have others. And so no matter what, I mean, you can't, if you're always giving, they can't take anything from you. And so they can't control you. If you can control your destiny, your physicality, your medical condition, the feeding systems, what do you don't need money. You can create your own currency through your knowledge. How can they there's no way around that they, other than to get rid of you, but if you can do the mother's hug and take care of yourself in that way, they can't, there's that you become invincible in a way, but that enough people become aware and start using the technology that it just becomes it goes from being that one drop to being the river.
The problem is not us. The solution for us is us, if you understand it. And this is the problem. We have the solution for ourselves. And fortunately, unfortunately, we are dependent on many, many other factors in our lives. The grocery, the bread, the doctors, the post, and everything else. And the knowledge seekers' work has not reached that point of knowledge that they could satisfy all their needs. And if you reach that point, then yes, you're correct.
I still just can't wrap my mind around how people can just get enough of the knowledge and walk away and not, how do people, how is that part of a human that can just take enough to think, to satisfy a need, and then find out that they didn't learn enough and then try to come back? I mean, how is that whole part of our thought process?
What do you mean?
Well, it's like if in the past people have come through the foundation and taken what they've needed and then they've left, right? They took what they wanted. Maybe they gained some insight that other people had, and they didn't share it, or they didn't continue to try to teach. I can't wrap my mind around how they were able to, once being exposed to the fields and the ganses and everything, how they can still walk away from something that provided so much benefit to them.
The Keshe Foundation support, or people who come in touch with, has a cycle of life. We've seen it. And some people came in and they got benefited by it, and they seen what they wanted, and they're still around, but if they need it, they use it. Some came and learned from it, and like a lady in France, sold a GAN CO2 to a cosmetic company, and she's made a fortune out of it. But she never told them it's a GAN's production, and she had no patent on it. One of our knowledge seekers in France has done that. Team of knowledge seekers in China went to bed with Chinese military and provided all they needed for Wuhan city and beyond. And they were well paid. We have knowledge seekers who in huge industries have taken the knowledge, they got benefited by it. That is the whole purpose of open source. That's the whole purpose of the knowledge of the creator given freely. It's not that they come and go, they come, they learn something, and they carry on with something else, or they come and infiltrate us for certain purposes, for certain groups. And they can't penetrate, or halfway they get caught and they disappear. I can give you a number of examples of it, how we were infiltrated internally, who came to see or take things from us or change things, and when they are satisfied, they move on. If you've seen suddenly certain members of the Keshe Foundation different group disappeared, ask yourself why. Very simple. Why? We watch, we monitor, we look, we try to understand. But there's a cycle. People come in. But even if we go into the space technology, we open the space. There's a cycle of people will be there for a period of time and they move on to another direction. But they don't leave the foundation. They're just there as part of it. They use it, they appear. It's normal with any organization. We are not a cult, we are not a religious group that they do. They come, they learn, they use, and when it comes next week, they're there to support. Has to be that way. And we get infiltrators who come in, they pretend to, because they've been taught how to get in. And they get the support internally, their agents move them in. We had many cases like this. You think they're very good knowledge seekers, but they actually came in as to do maximum damage. We saw it with my ex-wife, how she was planned in and used through education system. But we were aware, we were watching very closely. As head of education said, I was wondering how she was getting rid of all the ones who are good in teaching and all the ones who are working hard for the foundation. Now people are becoming wise to it.
So in a way, if we perhaps we would have made the glasses, we could have seen someone's true intention. I don't know.
More or less. But the thing is, you have to realize that any organization like this, especially scientific as we are, is open to a lot of things, especially when you open source your technology on a daily basis, weekly basis. We interfere with a lot, but we teach a lot and they learn a lot and they use it. Our biggest problem and failures in the past 10 years has been the situation which is resolved now. We don't have another person so high to damage the foundation directly from inside. It's gone. And we still see they're trying to get ground from outside. Any knowledge seeker who work with, so you will understand, you open your children to abuse, you open your family to abuse, you, what I call, everything which is immoral becomes morality. And they walk as nothing happened. We should not see any failures around the foundation such we've seen in past 10 years. I will open the court sessions into public, then you understand how much we've been damaged internally. The full court sessions will be open. Then becomes a heat to universal council members, to head of Keshe foundations and knowledge seekers, that how well we were infiltrated. And there are other organizations like us, they're on the same path, they are on the same pressures. Shall we call it a day? It's nearly a long time. Thank you very much for your time. But you will see the teaching. The teaching has come in two ways. We have to enlighten now to teach knowledge which man has never known. And you got to realize, if you lot have so much problem, and outside Keshe Foundation there is so much problem with what you have and you call a soul, you can imagine the problems which I will face and most of you face in the next 5 months in teaching what they cannot even imagine. God help all of us that we sail through this wind and we come out of it perfect. Thank you very much.
God bless all of us, Mr. Keshe.
We all need it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.